This is Real Oregon Lifestyle with Andrea Fay and Jen Fiddler, two licensed real estate brokers who share their love of all things Oregon.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Oregon Lifestyle. I'm Jen Fiddler.
And I'm Andrea Fay.
And we are really excited because today we have a special guest, Andrea Thornberry. And Andrea is a daily money manager. So tell us a little bit about what that is and what you do.
Sure. So I'm Andrea as well, and I'm with Luca Financial Organizing. So we're daily money managers, which means that we actually do people's personal financial tasks. So we actually pay people's bills. We can get them set up with online accounts. We help monitor their spending and budgets. We can work with financial advisors, CPAs, lawyers, whatever people need in their own personal life that relates at all to money.
That's cool. That definitely seems like it would be a need for a lot of people, even people who are probably doing it on their own and thinking they're maybe doing a good job, but maybe they're not. So do you help with budgeting and things like that as well, and just getting people sort of set up to start a plan?
We do that. Every client has different needs. None of this is cookie cutter at all, which is why it's been really fun. Every day I don't quite know what I'm going to be stepping into. So the clients vary and the needs vary. So some people, it's just simply putting together a budget and a plan. Others, we've had a family that really needed financial education. They didn't know how to pay their bills. They didn't know how to pay their taxes. They didn't know how to do any of these things. And so just teaching them and getting them set up on a system so that they could do that for themselves. We also help people who are very ill or have severe medical crises, and they cannot physically do their monetary activities. And so we do all of that as well. So it really varies where people are in their lives, what their specific needs are, and what we can do to then step in and help them.
So, Andrea, I have a question for you. There are a lot of ideas I have in my head about what a daily money manager does. And one of those ideas is that it's something that only celebrities hire, or people that have a fiduciary that have to pay their bills for them. Is that true, or is this something that normal people can use?
Yeah, everybody can use daily money managers. I think it is more commonly associated with people who are higher wealth and travel a lot, and you think of their business managers and such. But daily money managers are good for all sorts of people in different situations. So maybe somebody this is a really common one, is somebody is elderly and maybe they are freshly widowed and they've never touched their finances. Their partner did all of the bills and finances, and they do not know, they may not even know what accounts they have or what banks. And so a daily money manager can come in and help somebody in that type of a situation. It also helps people, maybe they do know how to do their funds and everything, but they're getting older and they're less capable, or maybe there's some developmental disabilities or such. And this is a vocation and service that could then help people remain independent and live independently, because this piece is done for them and they don't have to worry about that regardless of the situation. And then of course you can have, your snowbirds who, live part-time in different areas of the country. And so then that's a way that their bills can be paid and other certain activities financially can be maintained.
You segued into kind of what I was thinking is how do people who snowbird manage those kind of things? I'm always thinking in terms of real estate. So sort of on that same note, with real estate planning, it seems like a daily money manager would be a great place to start for setting up a savings to buy your first home or something like that, and helping with allocating and budgeting towards that. Is that something that you do as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to home buyers, you need to have your I's dotted and T's crossed. You need to know just certain, as you guys know, as realtors, you have to know what it is you want, what is your budget, and all of these factors. And so people can take classes, which is great, on how to budget, and you can sit down maybe with your financial advisor and your banker. But oftentimes, people find out, hey, you can get a loan for, X amount, and they say, awesome, and then they take out that loan, not realizing they didn't factor into things like furniture, or maybe wanting to go on a vacation that year. And now they've overextended themselves on a mortgage. Just because you were able to borrow that much money doesn't mean you should borrow that much money. But we're more personally involved with people. It's way more than what a CPA or a budgeting class would be involved with. And so we really actually sit down with people and really talk about, okay, what are your goals, your overarching goals? And where do you have this fit in? Do you really want to take out a loan for all that money or less? And by less, how much less? If you have to buy a fixer-upper, well, how much is that going to cost to fix it up? So there's just a lot of factors to really sit down, really think about, really talk through. And so having somebody who's a third party, oftentimes with couples, to just objectively help set out that plan to reach those goals. And buying a home, I think, is one of the most common goals people have.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that people don't really take into account when they're thinking about, here's my monthly payment, yes, I can afford it, but they don't really take into account utilities and general maintenance costs too. There are tax benefits to owning a home, but you don't think about, well, what if my roof leaks or something like that? I'm using that example because I just had that at my house this week. Stuff like that you just don't even think about. Your water heater goes out. You're not budgeting for that kind of stuff. And I try really hard to talk to my clients, about that. But I think, sometimes hearing it from an independent person is going to be more helpful.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's so exciting to go house hunting. It's so exciting. Yeah. It's like cars. And it's like, well, I just add this little thing and that little thing. And suddenly, you've gone through your entire budget. So it's, and it's all just about choices and where you're putting your priorities. And so that's what daily money managers do for people, is really help sit down and say, okay, when it comes to your money, what are your priorities? What is the roadmap we're going to do for you specifically? Because everybody's different.
Absolutely. And, I'm sitting here in the back of my mind kind of thinking too, a lot of people go into adulthood without any of these skills whatsoever. I mean, they're not generally taught in school. I was fortunate to have, a family that was in banking, and I learned about balancing the checkbook and budgeting to a certain extent. But it seems like that's a skill that a lot of people just don't even go into the world with as an adult. So it seems like a money manager could really help with that, just kind of, adulting in general.
Right. And that is actually another area where people use daily money managers are for college students and young adults. I don't have any clients like that personally, but that is one of the types of clients that the industry sees.
So I had a question about how you are able to do forecasts for people. Nobody's ever done a forecast for me, really. Is this something that is like a shocking thing for people to see, how their daily money habits can affect their future?
It can be. It's really just long-term budgeting rather than just looking at what your annual budget might be. It's, okay, what goal is it that you have? So what does it look like 5 years from now or 10 years from now? So the best example that I can give that's an actual example would be, I have a client. She has severe medical issues. She has a lot of money in investments, and she sounds wealthy. If you saw it on paper, you'd be like, wow, she's rich. Well, she's still young. She has, so her age isn't that high, but she has severe medical issues to where she has household staff, caregivers, because she wants to remain in her home. And that's great. But how much is that annually? How much money is she getting from her distributions on her investments? At what point is she pulling into the principal of those investments and it just starts to decline to where that awesome sounding amount of money is depleted? And in her case, about 10 years. And she's young. She's going to live longer than that. And so you start to look and say, okay, now what choices can we make? What do we do with this information today to help extend that period of time? So that's, a really important life decision when you're looking at like your personal care and how you want to be cared for, and you're making decisions of, should I be at home and have my employed caregivers? Should I be at home and use a service? Should I go into a facility? And so this type of forecast can really help somebody who's in a point right now where they still have choices and can make decisions based on their financial reality going into the future. For most people,
do you make suggestions also?
I do. It's not my decision to make, but as much as I can identify different paths, different options that can be taken. But it's always up to the client. It's, everybody's writing their own checks in the end, even if I'm physically writing them, it's on your behalf. So the choices are always up to the clients what they're going to do. But, helping to have that discussion and try to be as creative as possible with different solutions is definitely something that we like to do. But it's really a conversation. I say less daunting for somebody who's looking at multi-year is, again, okay, I have this house and I want to move into a bigger house and have a family, but it's going to cost this much. How do I get there? Or should I buy an investment property, or, whatever. And so then you start looking into the future. Okay, well, what is your income stream going to be moving into the future? What has it been in the past? What can we anticipate it to be? What are your normal expenses that you just normally would have? Are those consistent? What are new expenses that you anticipate having? How do we work those in? And so then we just start looking at, what are your goals? Not everybody's at that point in life where they're wanting to stay at home with personal caregivers. Most people are, at a point in their life where they're trying to figure out, okay, the kid's going to be going to college. Can we pay for that? Should we pay for it? Maybe we want to do this other thing instead. Anyway, so it's all just these discussions about your goals, your priorities. Because we all want all the things. We can't afford all the things.
Yeah, that's the tough thing, right? We want everything, and it's hard. I guess when I'm sitting here, I'm thinking of just maybe some tips or tricks that you have that kind of are universal that everybody can implement, or strategies that people can look at. I mean, like, for example, I always hear like, don't cut out your daily latte, or, something along those lines. I would love to hear if you have any kind of universal tips that would work for everybody.
I think the one that's been universal is your auto pay. We're auto paying everything, right? So you might forget to say, hey, Verizon or Comcast or whoever, do you have better deals going on? Because you're not really writing the check and seeing like, gosh, this is $100 a month. And then, and we're not watching commercials anymore with their new introductory rates. And so to remember to go and see, can you get lower rate? And then you got Hulu, you got Amazon, you got Netflix. Are you using them? Do you actually need all of these channels? Because it's $5 a month, $10 a month. Yeah, pretty soon you're spending more than the cable package that we all try to get away from to save money. So to really just look at all of those subscriptions that you have on your just auto pay, and you forget it, but you're forgetting it because you're paying it. So, that's just the most simple advice, is just really actually look at the little nickel and diming that you're doing, because it's probably a lot more than you're expecting.
I did that recently and was kind of shocked at how many subscriptions I had between Spotify and Netflix and Hulu and all that kind of stuff, and went through and, I saved myself like $80 something a month by just getting rid of stuff I wasn't using.
Mm-hmm.
those apps that you sign up for that you are sure you're going to use. Like, I think, for example, of the one that I was going to log my calories every day and all my macros and stuff. And that's $119 a year. And guess what? I didn't use it. Right. So I'm like the prime example of get rid of subscriptions and apps and things that cost money.
Yeah, I am too. I can use a daily money manager for myself.
It's easy to do, though. They make it so easy.
Yeah, so I think just when it comes down to, particularly just those, you just sign up on the credit card or whatever and you forget it, just don't forget it.
That's a good one. I love that piece of advice. Any other questions, Andrea, for Andrea Thornberry?
I think Andrea covered a lot of it, and I'm really excited to meet with you personally and go over our own personal finances. So, we may have a follow-up to this too. And so I think it'll be really good to have a different set of eyes look at our finances.
I love that. I'm excited to hear how the meeting goes. And I think as we wrap up, just tell us where we can find you and, whether your website, Facebook, whatever, where can we find you?
Sure. Our website is lucacorvallis.com. That's LUCA Corvallis.com. And we are members of the American Association of Daily Money Managers. And so I know I believe you're in Portland. So you can find daily money managers throughout the entire United States through that website, the AADMM.
Awesome.
We are Luca Corvallis.
Awesome. Well, I personally love learning more about what you do. And, I think this is a smart idea for anybody and everybody. Just even if you think you're good at your budgeting and you think you're good at forecasting goals, I think it would never hurt to have another set of eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
and
it's fun.
I think we're about out of time today. So I'll go ahead and let Jen wrap it up.
You can find us on Real Oregon Lifestyle on Facebook and Instagram, or by going to YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us as always, and we look forward to seeing you next time.